And we are now leaving the last of the roads behind us. Before us stretches the desert, hundreds of miles of sand and gravel, sometimes firm and smooth so that we can make good time, sometimes perfectly hard under a thin covering of soft sand, sometimes soft and without bottom under a thin hard crust which suddenly gives way under the wheels. There is in the Sahara every kind of sand, and weeks of experience will not teach you where a surface which is to all appearances hard will unexpectedly give way. The dreaded rotten earth is the worst, as fluid and slippery as talcum powder. Sometimes as we shoveled and sweated, a camel caravan would pass, and how scornfully the camels would look at us. They had no 6-ton load to carry, however, and no 4-ton trailer to pull. We had been many times assured that the attempt to pull a 4-ton trailer across the Sahara was lunacy, and I came close to believing it. With their terrible overload, the Dodge trucks took almost unbelievable punishment. Remember that they did this day after day for hundreds of miles in a temperature of 120 to 130. Our progress was at times dishearteningly slow. On our worst day, we did, like this, in 12 hours, less than 100 yards. And then, sometimes when we least expected it, the wheels would suddenly bite, pull out. We would change into second, into high, creep up to 35 and 40. The secret of Sahara driving is at all costs to keep up speed on tires deflated to less than half normal pressure. Every 100 miles or so, I would look for a hard patch on which it would be safe to stop, and I would signal the trucks for a quick inspection of motors and tires and refueling. Aside from spare tires, we used 60 tires on the whole trip and half a ton of spare parts which we never needed and never used. The trailer carried 400 gallons of gasoline for the first leg of the desert crossing, and we planned to abandon it after this first leg. There was little to vary the monotony of the trip. Tracks in the sand of a previous French military expedition told us we were on the right road. We drank water, 2.5 gallons of water per day per person, the regulation allowance in the desert. And yet a consuming thirst parched our throats, which no amount of drinking could satisfy. I had been in dread of sandstorms, and one day it was upon us. We were 200 miles from shelter, but we felt our sealed engines with their air and oil filters would get us through. We went on. For 4 days, a burning wind carried millions of tons of sand across the face of the desert. For 4 days, we choked, breathed sand, ate sand, rubbed at our inflamed eyes. Driving in the choking atmosphere of the trucks, filled with inches of fine dust which every bump would raise in a blinding cloud, became agony. The mechanism of our cameras filled with sand and they refused to work. But our Dodge engines carried on, mile after mile, until at last we reached shelter. We opened the motors to see if they had suffered from the sandstorm, and we found that they hadn't. For 2 more days, the scorching wind blew, changing the face of the desert and obliterating all